Welcome to the Apex Perspective podcast. Today I have with me Ajay, who's a serial entrepreneur and the founder of currently Vyrill Incorporated. Now, Ajay is a serial entrepreneur, as mentioned before. He's also led Motive Media to a successful exit and has also been a lecturer at Haas Business School at UC Berkeley. Ajay, can we get started with more about your background and how you first became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, sure. So, hey everyone, and Aryan, thanks for having me on this podcast as well. So, a little bit of my background: I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family in India. My dad is a very, very successful textile entrepreneur, and so I've been helping my dad. I grew up with building a business, so it's sort of in my blood. And as my parents always said, you got to own Intel, not build, not work for one. So that's always been the mindset to think different, where, essentially not live with status quo. I've always lived with deep curiosity in life. I ask a ton of questions, and ton of questions lead to ton of problems, questions about problems,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
solving a ton of problems is my mission in life, right? So
Mhm.
that's what really got me onto my entrepreneur journey. So just by background, I'm both technical and I'm also
Right.
having a business school background as well. So the
Yep.
first company that I founded was the problem that I was going after was that I was in business school. I was carrying, as students, we carry a lot of reward cards in our pocket. We
Mhm.
we 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 eat at our neighborhood shops and places, and every time you walk into a Subway, if you ate 10 sandwiches, you get that little card, right, where you would
Yep.
track
Yep.
your food you ate, and then your 11th sandwich would be free, right?
Yeah.
And so this happens frequently all around us, whether it's tracking your airline miles or your rewards program in a grocery store, right?
Mhm.
Nobody gives a damn about what you earn. All people care about is when is my next free reward, right? So when I
Yep.
started my first company, managing rewards was with a piece of paper. And it was very manual, and I hated it. And every time, like I would walk into a coffee shop and they were like, "Hey, do you have your punch card to punch your coffee card?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"No, I
Yeah.
don't. It's home." So I would miss out, right? So essentially, with my first company, we started as a mobile rewards program.
Right.
We were the first company in US to do mobile payments pilot. So I'd hired the CMO of MasterCard as my CEO. And long story short is, as it happens with every startup, you start with a hypothesis, and the hypothesis was, track your rewards and payments with your mobile phone. This is
Yes.
2005,
Mhm.
2006 timeframe. We did the pilot, but the with mobile devices, you could dial and pay at a store. And Nokia had promised us that they would release NFC phones, and that
Mhm.
never happened. So fast forward, we pivoted towards mobile marketing and mobile loyalty,
Mhm.
and that actually became the company, Motive Media. So Motive is really moment of decision, and people are constantly so essentially. We had built an app where you can scan and bag inside retail stores with your phone, and so
Yep.
we built an in-store retail media network. We send you promos as you walked around the store, and we cut
Mhm.
the lines, and we tracked your loyalty and rewards. So that was what became. I was the CTO co-founder for that company,
Yep.
and eventually we ended up solving a different problem. We started with mobile payments and rewards as a thesis, but we ended ultimately with influencing shopping behavior inside the
Right.
store. So, long story short, sold that
Mhm.
company. It was venture backed. And then
Sure.
after that, I went to work at Nokia, the phone company, where I launched the App Store in about 35 countries around the
And
world.
may I ask one question?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, something I've learned from my previous guests who've exited companies as well is really going after a market that's quite strong and that is hot. Now, I understand that people want, of course, rewards and they want to get free stuff, of course. How do you identify that there was a market that was willing to download these apps and actually go forward with tracking their rewards and such on the phone? How do you verify that?
Oh, I didn't have to verify much. If you look around you, everyone carries a credit card with
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
As a student, every person in my class had a rewards card that they carried in their
Right. So,
pocket, whether it was a coffee card or
so by
and
definition, they
there's
would want to do this.
it's not by definition, but it's a deep pain point with
Yeah.
having to track all your rewards. And remember, this is 2005, so this is sort of internet had happened, mobile devices were still happening. So now it seems obvious, right? Everything is like, oh yeah, we're probably doing this for a long time. We're not, right? It was
Hmm.
all paper before, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't even, I mean, until mobile devices happened and mobile messaging happened, you wouldn't even alerted about your payment transaction on your phone or even rewards and stuff,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
this is like a little bit precursor to that.
Hmm.
But you identify demand by looking around you, by trying to solve your own problem, right? And when I started, of course, I didn't just start a company without market research. I interviewed
Yeah. Of course.
I interviewed hundreds of shoppers
Yeah.
with and learning a little bit about their pain point.
Got it from the
And I
market. Yeah.
also interviewed brands and retailers, right? So the middle ground was, how can you influence shopping behavior so customers spend more, so they earn more points, so they get more rewards, and they're
Mhm.
happy, right? And they're
Yeah.
loyal.
Absolutely. So subsequently, you started working at Nokia. You became an advisor at a different company, and you also became a lecturer at Haas Business School. So tell me more about that progression and kind of what led you to become a professor, because that is a little bit different from what you were doing previously.
Well, so I joined Nokia. I was responsible for launching the App Store around the world in 35 plus countries. Generated some about 150 million in new revenue for Nokia. So, that was a different phase. I wanted to, as I said, I'm a very curious person. I want to learn, I want to grow. And what
Hmm.
better than to work at in 2000, between 2008 and 2012, Nokia was number one, top
Hmm.
of their game with mobile phones, right? So it was a tremendous opportunity. Nokia is one of the best companies I've ever worked for. The culture was amazing. I've learned so much at Nokia. And then Nokia got acquired by Microsoft. And I did not want to work at Microsoft because it wasn't something I related to the culture and the
Okay.
company. And so I left, and I have always loved giving back as a lecturer, as a teacher. And there will at Haas, so the dean at Babson recommended me to the dean of Haas,
Hmm.
and I wanted to, there were many reasons. One was, getting a position at Berkeley was awesome,
Sure.
very prestigious. But the other one was, I have a lot of family in the Bay Area, so it was a very easy move for me to decide to go to Berkeley. And what better to go to the Bay Area than to actually join UC Berkeley as a professor and
Sure.
lecture and build your network, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up doing, and that's where I met my co-founder, with whom I
Wow.
started. And so, but to answer your question, so um, I became a lecturer, was teaching for about 3.5 years. I was teaching the entrepreneurship, innovation,
Hmm.
and the startup class. It was really fun. I learned a lot about public speaking.
Hmm.
Berkeley did a phenomenal job teaching me to be how to be a great teacher and train me
Right.
on that,
Yeah.
which essentially is a lifelong benefit that I'm deeply grateful for to UC Berkeley.
Yeah.
And in the
And the
process,
question for you, yeah,
yeah,
is did
no,
you
and in the
learn?
process, I saw that a lot of students in my class were on their phones watching videos, which then became the story of my next company.
Yeah, yeah. So, did you learn anything more about the subject you're teaching, which is of course entrepreneurship? I've actually had a real estate developer on this podcast before who became a lecturer on real estate, and he learned so many different things about the subject because he had to teach it. Did any of your understanding change about the subject when you asked these constant questions by the students?
Yeah, I think change is constant. You solve old problems, and new problems come about, right? I mean, when internet wasn't there, we didn't have to think about web security and hacking of your web browser. But now we do, right? Now data theft is a big issue. But where I'm going with that is, I mean, you learn. What I did in my class was, I had a phenomenal set of speakers come in that related to the topic that I was discussing with my students for the day.
Yeah, yeah,
And of course, every entrepreneur that came into my class, it's a different story, it's a different market, it's a different
mhm,
problem that they were solving.
yeah,
So it's always interesting to see, how people identify, to your point, how they identify there's a problem, how they decide to build a team. I mean, I think
yeah.
the two things that really stood out with among all my uh, speakers were, they had amazing teams, top notch
Sure.
teams. I mean, the idea will change over the life of the company, but the team doesn't. You stick with
Mhm.
your with you you stick with your team for a long time, in a
Yeah.
startup journey. So I would say the number one thing that stood out for me was, clearly team. How you build your team is
Hmm.
what you end up with building a company.
Right.
And the second thing was also about culture. I mean, I think even with my first company that I built, I completely missed the culture part. And I was 24, didn't really have a sense of that. But the culture you build is the value system you create in your
Hmm.
startup, and the value system you create in a startup is going to last for a long time. And value system comes from the top.
Hmm.
If the CEO is rude, so are the employees to their customers.
Yeah. Exactly.
If the CEO is
Lead by
hiding,
example.
yeah, lead by example. And you never do something that you don't want others to do.
Yeah. So, question for you is, as you know, as an entrepreneur, before you conduct that class, a lot of it's real world application. So, how did you bring that idea to the students who are in university who are used to doing everything in the classroom?
Oh, I mean, the first of all, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a professor by background, right? I don't have a
Mhm.
PhD, right?
Yeah.
The reason they chose me was they wanted some. A professor cannot teach entrepreneurship. Only an
Yeah.
entrepreneur can,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that was the first thing, is that there's a reason they hired me, was that they hired a PhD in entrepreneurship to teach the class, right? I bring real experience, right? The second part of the answer is, my class was split into half and half, right? One was, we talked about the topic of the day, which could be accounting, marketing, ideation, problem recognition, uh, you know, uh, customer interviews, right? And then I had a speaker for the second half of the class who would talk to that topic, right? How they went about identifying the customer problem, or how they went about go to market for their company. How did they hire their first team, right? So the students could directly relate to my
Yeah.
class,
And
to the
I'm
topic.
smiling because this is actually the class I took this year at UC San Diego. My professor, Helen Wang, she actually had these classes sectored out into different subjects, whether it's accounting, bottoms up finance. And one of the course objectives was to actually build a company, bring it to ideation, and pitch it in front of VCs. And luckily, this quarter, my my team won two different awards. One was for, I believe, the best MVP, and the other one was for the most innovative business model, which was basically targeting underutilized real estate and converting into medical businesses and opportunities for them, from cash flow bleeding properties to viable opportunities for medical operators to expand into. So I think that what you're doing is absolutely amazing. You need to have speakers who have genuine experience in the field, because again, one of the core theses of my professor was real world application. So I love to see that you two have a very similar perspective, and it's a pleasure to really see it reinforced here. So then we go into Vyrill Incorporated, right? So tell me more about how you found this idea with your partner and who you met, of course, through the system you're into.
Yeah, so just to set the stage for everyone listening to the podcast, I'm currently working on a startup called Vyrill.
Yeah.
And the problem that we're going after at Vyrill is twofold. The first is that 95% of world's video content today is not searchable. It hasn't been analyzed fully. And hence, it's very hard to find something in a video. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're buying a car, you're on the BMW website, you've selected your car model, and there are
Mhm.
35 videos on the page, and you're looking for a car with leather seats that features a male or female driver that's blue in color. I'm looking for a car with child seats. Today, if you go on the BMW website, the answer is there, but you can't find the answer. So BMW spends 20 million every year making video, and only 25%, 15 to 20% of the content is actually consumed. So the ROI is very low when it comes to video content, right? So that's the first problem we're going after, is, how
Yeah.
do you improve, analyze the video, make it searchable and useful?
Yeah.
The second problem we're going after is that every brand in the world wants to leverage video or videos at scale,
Of course. Yeah.
and but they want to make sure that the video they promote is brand safe. It doesn't feature nudity, for language. So for example, like almost every brand and retail I know wants to put millions of video reviews in front of their customer, but every time they capture the video today, someone on the team manually watches the video to make sure
Hmm.
it's relevant, it doesn't have nudity in the video, and so on. So
Yeah.
content moderation and they're short and is a big problem, and so they're short on time. So you cannot possibly. BMW has 25 million videos on YouTube,
Yeah. Yeah.
and BMW probably wants to, or if you're Walmart, Walgreens, you probably want to capture millions of video reviews.
Mhm.
TikTok already does it,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So short on all teams are short on time when it comes to video. So these are the problems
Mhm.
we're going after. And the way we identified the problems was I literally interviewed 100 brands and retailers.
Yeah.
And I interviewed 200 students in my class. And actually, that was how I came up with the idea. Was I noticed all the students in my class, which is probably you as well, Gen Zs,
Yep.
are watching videos before they shop, right? So I interviewed 200 students and I said, what do you do with video? And they're like, we shop, we make videos, we
TikTok
watch
shop.
videos, we share videos, right?
Yep.
And so that sort of became the premise. And I realized that video is very sticky. And so I've been studying shopping behaviors for 20 years now.
Mhm.
So it became very obvious to me that video is the next big thing. And this is around 2020.
Agreed. And I can promise you unfortunately, some of your students are watching videos as you lecture, probably as well. So it's actually very, very strong, and it has that ability to reach a mass amount of people. What's the system at Viral regarding how to distribute this and kind of make this at scale?
Yeah. So essentially, our superpower is video search. We're one
Yeah.
of the few companies in the world that analyzes the video text, audio, and images in 21 dimensions with
Okay.
150 filters. And we make all your video content searchable and useful. So our video search is what powers our platform. So we
Mhm.
help brands and retailers capture video and video reviews at scale. We just landed a contract with TikTok Shop to power video reviews for 500,000 TikTok merchants.
Wow.
It's a pretty big
Congratulations.
contract uh,
Yep.
with millions of dollars in revenue for us. And
Mhm.
the reason we won the contract is the second C, which is curate. The
Mhm.
biggest fear that brands and retailers have is content moderation. We're able to offer content moderation. Like, for example, TikTok doesn't want the videos to mention the word Amazon.
Yep.
They want to make sure the video is fully licensed. There
Yep.
is no music in the background that's has copyright issues,
Yep.
right? And so on, right? So we're able to filter out that content that matches TikTok filters at scale,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
So and then we have tools to publish videos to your e-commerce site with
Mhm.
search, personalization, recommendations, buy now, on your and SEO and geo on your site. So going back
Mhm.
to that BMW example, now we put a video search bar on top of the videos. So now you can ask a question: show me a car with leather seats. It will pull the answers for you from the videos
Right.
clicks,
And it's
right?
that's actually a
So
lot more. Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's more efficient. It increases the video ROI. It increases video consumption. And so
Yeah.
you search more, you do more with video, right?
And
And the more
yeah.
people watch videos, it increases brand trust because you can see
Mhm.
the product, the person, the emotions inside the video.
And getting what they're looking for as well, because when people search for things, sometimes they word it in different ways, and it's sometimes hard to
Correct.
recognize what they're looking for. But if they're able to search for something that's kind of with their problem in their own words, and they find what they're looking for,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot more efficient. And that's actually a lot. It's a lot harder to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
than
I mean,
yeah. You think
I'll
saying it.
give you
Yeah.
another example. You're buying a Samsung TV. For you, maybe size of the TV is important. For me, maybe the color, the resolution, or
Yeah.
maybe whether it has Netflix or not already in the web OS might be interested, right? So we all have different needs, but how do you find that feature in a video? I mean, take our podcast. If someone is watching the podcast after this and it's a 30-minute podcast, and I'm just looking for what Ajay said about TikTok, how do I know that? How do I know which portion of the video is doing what, right? People
Mhm.
get very frustrated if they can't find the answers,
Exactly. Absolutely.
right?
So
And then just to close, we measure conversion, we measure how people are engaging with your videos, and we
mhm.
also measure what video is driving conversion on your site.
Love it, love it. And just for the sake of time, I'll go ahead and move on to one question about you. Ajay, what is something about your life that you wish more people knew about?
Oh, I mean, I would say um, uh, something is that I run marathons.
Love
I'm a
it.
strong
Yeah.
believer in getting a 7 hour of sleep, 7 to
Mhm.
8 hours of sleep. And this is something I learned from another entrepreneur. I mean, if you read Ariana Huffington's book on sleeping well, because if you sleep well, you wake up with a functioning brain and body,
Yeah.
which means you're more productive, you're more effective.
Better decision
And so
making.
I would just say exercise and sleep is two important things that are two priorities for me.
Love it. And I'll actually progress into one perspective I just want to share today for for fitness, and that's really about challenging what it takes to make a physical transformation. As you know, Ajay, a lot of my audience is entrepreneurs and executives. A lot of them are that. So how can I make this advice really relevant for them, right? It's really challenging what it takes to make a physical transformation and how we can align with people who have very unpredictable demanding schedules, right? So if you look at really what it takes for physical transformation, a lot of it has to do with the right movement and having the right nutrition, right? So what I'd say is for the movement, this is what kind of takes a lot of people's times and what is the harder thing to commit to. So instead of viewing it from having to go to a gym or a location and exercise, I think you can restructure that and look at it as if something you can do anytime and anywhere, something that's location independent. So instead of
Yeah.
looking at exercises you can only do in the gym, you can leverage something like step count and get the same amount of movement you get in the gym from outside of the gym, essentially, and basically fit within the requirements of making physical transformation. So the primary perspective is really just looking at the requirements and finding other pathways to adhere to those requirements in a more time efficient way. And even step counts, what I even personally use to make my physical transformation of 70 pounds. So hopefully that gives some insight into how you can kind of look at the requirements and restructure that to something that can work for you. So with that, we'll go ahead and conclude the podcast with Ajay's next year plans.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll go
Cheers.
ahead and conclude the podcast with some next year plans you may have, and anything you want to include for the podcast.
I mean, I think we're currently in the midst of a major fundraise right now for the company. So looking for investors. I mean, that's my next thing is to close my
Yeah,
seed
yeah.
round in the
Okay,
next 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah,
And of course, I'm always looking for introductions to customers as well. So
okay,
if you know a brand or a retailer or someone in your network and that
yeah,
would be interested in video and video search and reviews. And it's crazy, like with TikTok, we just launched 40 days ago. And as of this morning, we have signed our 65th customer. We're growing 100% week to week.
excellent, excellent,
So, yeah.
perfect. Well, Ajay, thank you so much for joining me. Joining me, it was a pleasure to have you on. This was Aryan
Yeah. Thank
Mohindra
you.
and Ajay Baum. Thank you for listening.